Welcome to a brief history of the giant snail races and how we got to our 500th show. Over here behind me is a picture of the original race. We weren't filming it back then. We were just racing around the track for about 3 years, and I would go down to the welcome area and try and recruit new snails sometimes. This is me and my snail. But we were racing around Momar. That was May Best Sim, and it was pretty fun. It was just down this path May made for us, and so she made the original race course. There's the primitive scoreboard, and I also knew the person named Chase Hawthorne who owned the Hawthorne Sim, and she let us race there on Tuesdays. But then it wasn't until about 3 years later when we were discovered by Ducky Fresh Watanabe, who knew the people at Treat TV, which was called SLCN back then. So Wiz Norberg and Texas Tim Tam, who live in Australia, would get up at 3 a.m. and come film the giant snail races. And this is what it looked like back then. It was basically there was a lot of arrows, and it was a confusing track sort of. And you would hit these things, and they would throw you up into the air, and you'd go through the checkpoints, and at the end there was a lot of fireworks, and Wiz Norberg said, and at the end of the race the snails explode with excitement or something like that, and that was pretty funny. But actually that was just the fireworks that happened at the end. This is much later. I think it was much later. No, it's probably about the right time, same time. Anyway, we had someone come out. We had some friends of mine come out, and Random Cole and someone else, and they modified my track. They made it look pretty. And I've been working on it ever since. There's a cannon that would fling you across the track. Those were our flingers that were made by Cepient Surface, and he was a great programmer. May Best knew him, but I met him over on Momar, and he helped us a lot. Here's a sample of the racers. I have no idea how I was keeping score back then. The numbers don't make sense to me, but you can see Josie Tank was there, Bloodsong Termagant, Beavis Beckham, Waya Tank. Waya Tank was a prime person would recruit new snails for me, and she was a real go-getter, and she was a lot of help. Kiwi Alpha was one of our announcers back then, and so was Pyria Kula, and they were great people. And that's Salem Sella, and she was with us, and then she's wearing my robot chicken mouth, which I made. And this is us watching the show after the race, about a half hour after Wiz Norberg could whip it up and get it ready, and we could watch the actual show that happened that day. I can't do that anymore. This is more Candyland track. This was made by Random Cole and Sandy Mars, and they basically took my track and just modified it and made it look pretty. And it did. And ever since then, I've been trying to keep up to the standards that they built at that time. And it was really good. The cannons there would shoot you into the air. This was on the old Havoc engine. So those all became obsolete when they came out with the Havoc 4. And everything worked different. But this was up in the air above Momar, I believe. We were back over above Momar. And this was a Relay for Life race across country. And you see there's Salem's snail there. And this was another thing. This is back when they improved on the welcome area too, so I went over there. This was we tried to do I built the Alice in Wonderland track, which was very similar. I mean, same basic track, just different textures. And then this was a new track. And there is the Relay for Life track again. And then the giant prims came out. Those were great. And then they wouldn't let us race the giant snails around the track. We tried that before at the Relay for Life or on the Relay weekend. But they did let us race tiny snails around the track, which ended up taking about 3.5 hours to do, which was crazy. And we didn't get any of it on film, I don't think. We got a little bit of the beginning, a little bit of the end on film. That was it. In this version of the track, we had this bridge that you'd run across, and the first person to run across it could do it easy, and the ones following behind would fall through because the bricks would fall down. This is the view of the whole track there. And this is the Way You Tank's recruiting tool, School of Giant Snails. She teaches class every once in a while to get new people to join. One out of about 100 people that she showed would actually race with us. This is Kiwi Alpha, Racer X, me, and my little puppet guy, and Wiz Norbert. Here's another shot of the announcers, Salem Sella, me, Wiz Norberg, and I believe it was Sandy Cleese, or Bedtime Bobby Socks, but I think it was Sandy Cleese. He did a really cool intro for that show. And there's an old version. This is at Club Snailo down. Kumi Kerr used to make these great cards for everyone, and you can still get them made today. She'll still work on it if you want. That's the Texas Tim Tam, and the raccoon back there was the camera guy. This is just something silly. Salem was in the hospital, and Kiwi had just recently left the show, and so we made this for them to be on the show still. This was me moving the track to a new location. I believe I was moving it back to the future, we had it hanging over two sims, so it was the audience would sit in one sim, the track would be in the other, and I believe that's the first attempt at the moving maze, or that's the first version of the moving maze. Over here, there's the whole track. See it hanging over two sims there. That's the old seats, the old flying seats. Not the really old ones, but pretty old. Those were pretty cool, though. I might go back to that. Those look pretty neat. That's the what it looked like hanging there in space. That is Sandy Cleese and Tendaya Susayer at the race there. That's Way You Tank, our recruiter. She was great, and she had to go. She left because she went to go spend time with her new baby. And he's like 9 years old now. I hope she comes back someday. This is me trying to make the scenery. Watch this. This is the hell. The hell is named because Way You Tank would, instead of calling it hell, she'd call it the hell. So that's why we did that. And those were carrots in the background, being stalagmites and stalactites. That's a better version of the maze. This is when we moved it over to Hawthorne for a while. We were in Hawthorne. It was like the 13th sim or something like that. And Fire Saber people wanted us to get off, move to a different place. Anyway, we were still not making. That was Bloodsong's Snail back then. This is some kind of a. We put the snails on wheels and raced across. This is the route for a race across Bay City. Every once in a while, we'd go and race across someone else's sims. That was a lot of fun too. Usually to raise money for Relay for Life. This was at a Christmas party that they had. There's Pyrie Cooley in the middle there. And Texas Tim Tam. And this one is Kiwi Alpha, and I forget her name. And this is Ducky Fresh Watanabe, the person who introduced us to the Treat TV people. Here we've got, it looks like May Best, and this was pretty recent. This was back when Shady was with us still. This is me and Dr. Fran over at the Relay for Life opening ceremonies. Dr. Fran was on our show for a while as an announcer. She'd do the interesting facts about snails. That was pretty fun. And there's another version of the track. And there's some people in the booth and another same version of the track. There's just some pictures of the track. Oh, there's our underwater area. This is when we... Oh, this was an interesting thing. This is when we had our instructions translated into 2 other languages, Spanish and Dutch. So anyway, we've had to move the snail races a few times. We started on Momar, and then Maybeth sold the sim to the Fire Saber people, Gus Pliskin and his Fire Saber group. And they supported us and let us stay there, continued on for many years. And then they finally shuffled us off to, we had to change sims a few times, but they were all Fire Saber sims. And then they moved us over to the mainland where we were at Hawthorne for a while, and that was Chase's old Manhattan place. And she let us stay there again for a long time. And eventually they started saying, well, could you somehow chip in a little bit of money to pay for the land you're on? And that's when Safford kicked in. Safford came to our rescue and said, "You can come stay at my sim for free." So we did that for a few years, and thank you very much, Safford, for letting us do that over on Devon Dreams. And then Safford got tired of us and asked us to leave one day after about 2 years of letting us be there for free. And we moved over, and May Best bought a sim like within a day or so, and we had the whole race moved over to May Best sim, which she eventually gave to me, and I've been running it ever since here on the Going Coast. And okay, and then the other stuff we have here is the crew. We've had a lot of great people on the show, and the as the announcers we've had. Tindalia's been here quite a while. Oodlemi's been here quite a while. Maybest, of course, and Shady Fox was here for a while. He was a great guy. And Salem Sala, all the other variations of Salem, about three of them, and Lobby Wriggles, Kelly Kane, and many others that I've. Sorry, I don't remember your names now. Anyway, this, and we also have Tendalia Soothsayer to thank for all these great sets that are going on behind us here. Talia decorates our track every single week, and thanks for doing that. And that was just Stephanie Brimmer there. There's our favorite ferret there, Cat and Carter. We've got that's just a regular crew. There's Maybest. Maybest does the best in show every week, and she does a great job at that now, and tells jokes and has fun and announces things and does a great job. And we appreciate Maybest. She's the one that started it all. She had the original sim that let us live there. And of course the snails. Alden Cortez, Ulumi Noodle. The best snails, the fastest snails we've ever had started out to be Candid LeMay. Was one of the fastest and was the original fastest. Yeah, that was back on Momar. Pyrea Kula was always winning the races after that. Then I believe Weya Tank came along, and there was probably a few others in between there. Some I'm forgetting, and we've just had a lot of great snails on the track too. Alden Cortez is here. Ulumi Noodle again races. Tendalia Soothsayer was the top of the charts for 5-6 years or so. Was the best racer ever. There's been so many people that have come and gone in the snails, and I thank them all. Like Fiona Faye's our new is looking really good these days. Whispering Wind, Cat and Carter, that guy Caleb Kitt over from and Shady Fox got our sim moved over next to Raglan, which is wonderful. We love being next to another group. That was sort of made Beth's idea, was said we should probably move somewhere where there's other people, and luckily Shady Fox got us in there. So we're next to the Raglan Shire, which we love a lot, and we thank them for letting us live here. So many great sets, so many great snails, and we decorate them to theme, and we have a great time here. And then, of course, there's the announcers that we no longer have with us. That's kind of a downer, but we had Shady Fox was here for quite a while, and doing great stuff, and we miss him a lot. That's his last known picture inside the SL, I think. I wasn't there that day, but we miss him a lot. And so we have the Shady Fox Memorial Tiny Race over on the Relay for Life Sims. And that's Russell Schwartz, the real life Shady Fox. And he passed away from cancer. We miss you a lot, Shady. And of course, Salo, who's not with us anymore. And also known as DJ Xanadu, and a couple other Salem names, I think. Anyway, we miss you, Salem. Anyway, that was just some of the many pictures that I have on about the giant snail races. We also had different versions of the snail. This was the original version. It was kind of a hideous looking thing, and yeah, that was before it really got its long neck. It actually did change to the shape it looks like now right before I started having the event. I had to quickly decide on a snail to go with, and some of these aren't very well. And we had different sizes snails. There was a tiny snail, 6.1, 6.3. Not a lot of difference between these, just better scripting and slightly better work. That's Way You Tank Snail with the hat. Anyway, now here we are in Club Snailo. That's how I looked originally on Momar. And now I own this sim thanks to Maybest. There's the book. There's ways to transport it. We watched the race a week after we film them. It's been a great ride, and I hope I hope you had fun watching this. This was just a brief history of the giant snail races. There we go.